Welcome back to Rising. Lindsey, what is in your lens today?
We're talking about one of your favorite people, Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, okay.
In a recent interview with NPR, Pete Buttigieg shared some powerful thoughts about where the Democratic Party and the country needs to go from here. He made a compelling point. It's not enough just to fix what Donald Trump broke. Instead, Buttigieg argues Democrats have to go further. They need to reimagine the entire system so that it actually works for the American people. It's a wake-up call. For years, Buttigieg has pushed the idea that government needs more than a fresh coat of paint. It needs a full renovation. In his conversation on Morning Edition, Buttigieg highlighted a few critical points. Take a look.
Democrats have failed to do so up to now. Do you agree with that?
I would mostly agree. Yeah. I think that Democrats have been slow to understand the changes in how people get their information, slow to understand some of the cultural changes that have been happening, and maybe most problematic of all, too attached to a status quo that has been failing us for a long time.
And that's really the crux of it. I mean, there's a gap between the way the party sees the world and how everyday Americans are experiencing it. Buttigieg is saying out loud what many have been whispering. The old ways of doing things just are not cutting it anymore. He went on to say this.
Right now, you've got an administration that is burning down so many of the most important institutions that we have in this country, which is wrong. It is also wrong to imagine that we should have just kept everything going along the way it was. If our politics, our economy, and our culture were healthy, the rise of a figure like Donald Trump would never have happened in the first place.
Now, what I like is that he's not just criticizing Trump. He's challenging Democrats, too. Buttigieg is pointing to something much deeper, that the system itself hasn't been working for a long time. And pretending we can go back to quote-unquote normal isn't going to cut it. Instead of just repairing departments like the Education Department or USAID, he's pushing for transformation. He wants these institutions to be more modern, more accountable, and more connected to the real needs of today's America. But it's not just about the structure, it's about trust. Buttigieg is warning that public faith in government has eroded, and that's opened the door for conspiracy theories and misinformation and really extreme politics. If Democrats want to win people back, they have to stop avoiding the hard questions and start making some bold, meaningful changes. In the end, Buttigieg's message is really simple but urgent. The Democratic Party has to evolve. That means letting go of what no longer works and being brave enough to build something new. It's about tuning into how people live now, how they get their news, who they trust, what they need, and designing a government that reflects that. Looking ahead to 2028 and beyond, this could be a real blueprint for Democrats. Buttigieg isn't asking them to look back. He's challenging them to look forward with open eyes, open ears, and the courage to just listen to the people they're supposed to represent.
Secretary Mayor Pete, as I like to call him.
Yes, and obviously he has a stake in this. Let's just get that out of the way. He's going to run for president.
Yes.
That's pretty obvious, and he's trying to be balanced. I think he's going more with a Bill Clinton approach that I'm like, the more moving over to the center. I could see the criticism.
Well, he's pretty centrist. My read on him is that people on the left did not like him at all when he ran in 2020. I mean, I know that for a fact. I have co-hosted this show with a number of left people. We've had on left guests.
His profile was much lower, though.
They really did not like him. And then he served as transportation secretary. And I guess his tenure as transportation secretary was a little bit more progressive, maybe than they expected for a variety of reasons. I'm not quite sure why, but this is my read on how the left has reacted to him. So I think he's in better standing with multiple factions of the Democratic Party at present, which is going to be useful as he moves forward. I will say, to his credit, I obviously don't agree with his policies. I don't have anything specifically against him. He speaks well when he goes on TV, and he is not afraid to go on Fox and to go into not totally friendly media environments and make his pitch. He's correct, as he said in that interview, the Democrats, unlike him, other Democrats have been slow to adapt to the new communications mediums, platforms where people want to get news and information, and he is not like that. He is ahead of the curve on doing conservative media, unfriendly media, and then also long-form podcasts, and coming across like a normal enough person, not a kind of like consultant orchestrated by committee Kamala Harris type of person, for lack of a better example of the kind of Democrat who's not really succeeding in an alternate media environment. So he has all that going for him. you know.
Polls have been all over the place, though. Like right after the election, and I think this is kind of obvious and always would happen. If somebody just lost an election like Kamala did, then she keeps polling as the obvious front runner to run again in 2028. But now there's been recent polls where Buttigieg is actually out-polling her. And so that shows
Out-polling who?
Kamala, like when they say who would win.
Surprising.
Well, she for the longest she was like, last few months. That's just natural, right? But I think like as we talk about emerging leaders and where the party's going, there still is a disconnect about where it's going because we can't have, I think, such wide-ranging candidates on the table for the Democratic Party that it's kind of all over the place. Like if you have a Buttigieg and then you have somebody who emphasizes some of the things that Mom Donnie does, and then you have a Kamala, or you have AOC and Bernie Sanders kind of doing their own
what's
thing.
What's wrong with that? We're going to do that, and then we're going to find out which way it's going based on how people vote.
But I think that should happen now. That should happen. That more people should speak up right now about their intentions, and you'll start to get a read on where Americans stand, rather than having the party in a few years look like it's in disarray, because that's been the biggest critique. Why are you still in disarray? Trump is almost like teeing up an alley-oop for you to have a basket because he's doing such a ridiculous job in fulfilling some of the commitments that he made. The economy is still not great, the number one commitment that he made. And so, therefore, it's an opportunity to do things. But Buttigieg's point is like nobody wants to hear anyone continuously complain about Trump in the same way I don't want to hear Trump continuously complain about Biden. It's old news at this point. What are you going to do differently? And so I think that is the thing that they need to organize and figure out the party messaging. And then there could be different ways to get to the same goal, but the end goals have to be the same. The end goals can't be all over the place. Like my number one thing is going to be climate change for the Democratic Party. My number one thing is going to be bringing back, reconnecting to some of these fringe issues. Like the Democratic Party has to figure out what its overall message is, and then everyone can figure out different ways to get there. I think that would be a great starting point.
Well, look, for 2028, you're going to have a couple different lanes. I think there's going to be like 5 people, basically, in contention for serious nomination potential.
You know them? You think you know them already?
Yes. My predictions are it's going to be Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, AOC, or some other left person. There's going to be room for one left person. It's probably AOC. Could be someone else, but probably AOC. Then you're Buttigieg, and then like Josh Shapiro or Gretchen Whitmer or something. Josh Shapiro is, I think, the most appealing of because he's the governor of the must-win state. They overlooked that last time when they were picking the vice president.
Yes.
But Newsom's clearly going for it because he's doing the whole podcast thing. Kamala Harris, it defies my brain that she could possibly want to do this again, but by all
given the amount of time,
she does.
There's a valid argument that given more than 107 days to be specific, that she could have had a better campaign, right?
Yeah,
anyone could have.
I can see why she thinks that.
Anyone would have.
Obvious.
That was abrupt, and
the problem
also
for her, she didn't get to pick her own people. She didn't get to pick her own team. She didn't get to put her team together to help elect her president. She had to use Biden's team, and Biden's team didn't like her.
But do you see what like J.D. Vance is doing? He's going out and rallying for the big beautiful bill. He's looking very vice presidential in moments where you usually would see President Trump doing this. He's kind of taking a foreground.
He's the designated
and so there would
successor.
have been an option for Kamala to stand out in a way that we see Vance doing right now. I think she might have been more successful. We'll keep talking about this, though. Next up, Ghislaine Maxwell is making a final plea to the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. Stay with us.